Haribo, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, herzlich willkommen zu unserem Sonntagsfest. Welcome to our Sunday program. May I first request you all to come a little closer. There's a lot of space here. Wenn ihr ein bisschen nach vorne reden könnt. Super. Noch weiter. Okay. Gibt es jemand, der gerne, weil die Vorlesung wird in Englisch sein, möchte jemand eine Übersetzung ins Deutsche? Deutschsprachige, die gerne lieber in Deutsch hören oder verstehen alle Englisch? Ja. English is good, huh? Okay. So, welcome to our Sunday program. We are very happy to have with us today a very special guest. His Holiness Bhakti Vigya Vinasha Nrsimha Maharaj. Hari Bol. Maharaj is originally from the UK. He, as a young man, met Srila Prabhupada and received his initiation directly from Srila Prabhupada in 1971. So for over 50 years already practicing Krishna consciousness. And Maharaj received also the sannyasi order of life in 1994 from His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami. And then on the request of Maharaj started to preach in mainly in Hong Kong, in China, in Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines. It has done so for almost 30 years now. And Maharaj is based in Hong Kong. And actually this is the first time that Maharaj has come to Europe after I think 30 years or so. So we are very, very fortunate to have Maharaj with us. And also today, this weekend actually, we have celebrated a special occasion because it's exactly 50 years ago that Srila Prabhupada came to Switzerland. No? Prabhupada came to Switzerland from the 30th of May, May to the 8th of June. Prabhupada stayed 10 days in Geneva and had different programs in Geneva. And just yesterday, the day before, we were in Geneva having some celebration there, remembering Srila Prabhupada's visit. And so this Sunday program today, we also dedicate to Srila Prabhupada. So we'll hear from the Bhagavad Gita and we'll also hear about Prabhupada. And a little later on, I will maybe announce after the class again, we have some extra program at 6 o'clock with more Prabhupada Katha and celebrations. But now I'd like to give the word to Maharaj, and we are extremely grateful to have your association. Thank you.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivar Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivar Dhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivar Dhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Prajajana Ranjana Namana Tera Jaya Radha Gopi Jana Vallabha Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate So I'd like to read a verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 13. Mahatmanastu mamparta Daivim prakritim ashrita Bhajanti ananya manaso Gyatva bhutadim avyayam. Translation. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They're fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, the description of the Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this affected? This is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes free from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as the living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he's put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Daivi Prakriti, divine nature. So when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of a great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna, because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma or great soul develops through divine association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as the four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned with any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only on Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishtatari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Srila Prabhupada has described here to us something of the features of a Mahatma. We probably all heard the term Mahatma in relation to Mahatma Gandhi, coming from India, right? You would think means like Mahatma Gandhi. But there's a little more to being a Mahatma than just what we learned from Mahatma Gandhi. Srila Prabhupada himself was a follower of Mahatma Gandhi initially, but then he met with his own spiritual teacher, who was a Mahatma. a genuine Mahatma. Mahatma Gandhi, it said, among politicians he was a saint, a Mahatma. But among Mahatmas, he was more of a politician. Not exactly. His line of presentation was not exactly spiritual. So we want to understand the particular qualification of Bhaktivedanta Swami, how he presented the Krishna conscious mission. As I said, he himself accepted a spiritual master. As a young man, he studied Sanskrit and he studied English while he was brought up in Calcutta. He had the opportunity to study these things. Not only that, but his father and mother were both Vaishnavas. He was brought up to be a vegetarian. Actually, he told us in his whole life he'd never even tasted tea, which is something we would find difficult, right? So it tells us something about the birth which he had. To be born into such a situation is certainly a great blessing. And it's not by chance, but it's according to our past activities, our what we could say karma, according to our stockpile of pious and sinful activities, we take our birth in a particular situation. So he was born into that kind of situation, a Vaishnava family who worshipped Krishna, and his father had him trained also to play the mridanga drum. As a young boy, he was playing the mridanga drum and the harmonium, these things, and going regularly to temple. And not only going to temple, but he himself, as a young boy, would put on Rati Atra festival. His father would arrange it to help him. He requested his father that we want to have Rati Atra, and the father kindly facilitated everything. So that was the childhood of Bhaktivedanta Swami, how he was brought up into that kind of situation. And then he, as I said, he learned Sanskrit. He went to a prestigious educational institute in Calcutta where he learned Sanskrit language and English, as well as the native Bengali and Hindi, of course, which is the national language of India. So when you have these languages at your fingertips, then it's a very good qualification to understand scriptures, to enter into the field of self-realization and to know more about higher purposes of life. If you can speak Hindi and Bengali and English, you have a lot. You have a lot of people to approach. You can communicate with a lot of people. So Srila Prabhupada had that qualification. And as a young man, his parents had him married, and he was working, and then he began his own business, and seemed fairly normal householder life, family life. But at one point, while he was about 26 years old at the time, his friend told him to come and meet a genuine Mahatma. And Srila Prabhupada describes that he was very reluctant to go and meet this person because he had seen so many people who were not genuine. And he can, like some people today, they think there is no genuine Mahatma. They're all cheaters. They're all rascals. They all just simply want to get your money. So he thought like that. But his friend told him, no, this man is genuine. He's a real saint. He's a genuine person. You have to come and meet him. So at the request of his friend, he came along and he met with this person who was to become, later on, was to become his own spiritual master. So that was in Calcutta, and it was in the year 1922. And then later on, Srila Prabhupada met the man, and what happened was, when Srila Prabhupada was walking into the assembly where this Mahatma, this saint, was sitting with other people around him, he immediately spoke to them and said, "You're nice young men. Why don't you take up the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and distribute this knowledge?" Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you can see here on the altar, we have the two figures on the left. The one on the extreme left is Nityananda, and beside him, to his right, that is Chaitanya. We say Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and sometimes we will simply say Gauranga. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world about 500 and more years ago in Mayapur, and he propagated what we call the Yuga Dharma, or the process of practicing religion in this age, which is Sankirtan. Sankirtan. Kirtan, the chanting together, and Sankirtan is where we all come together and we chant the holy names of the Lord. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did that like this, and the Mahatma, the saint, was requesting, Bhaktivedanta Swami said, "You're a nice young man, why don't you spread the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu?" And Srila Prabhupada describes how at that time he was dressed in the khadi cloth which symbolizes followers of Gandhi, because he was a follower of Gandhi. And at that time, 1922, India was under the British rule, and there were many people who wanted to get independence for India, naturally. So Gandhi was, of course, working for that purpose. And Bhaktivedanta Swami replied, when he was challenged like that, he was put on the spot. You could imagine, suddenly you walk into the room and somebody immediately says to you, "Why don't you do this?" You know. So it was a little shocking to get that kind of presentation, that request coming to you so quickly. And Srila Prabhupada describes he tried to argue. He said, "Well, our country is not free yet. We have to get independence first, and only then we can distribute this message, this knowledge of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the saint, said to him, "No, you're wrong. Spiritual mission cannot wait for some political adjustment. The political adjustments will come and go. They're very temporary things. And the mission of spreading spiritual knowledge is more important. It cannot wait for some political change." And later on, we saw Srila Prabhupada also apply that same principle. Later on, of course, Srila Prabhupada had renounced the world and he'd taken up missionary activities, and he'd gone to the West to establish Krishna consciousness. He had tried in his own country, India, but he didn't find a great response. He found a lot of people in India were more interested in following the West. They wanted to be like the Westerners. they didn't take a great pride in their own culture. So he decided that it would be good for him to go to the West and to recruit people there in the West and then bring them back to India and show the Indian people that you want to be like the Westerners, then be like these Westerners. So Prabhupada had gone there to America and he recruited people, and then he came back to India some years later with all these young Westerners, and the young ladies were in saris, and the young men were all in the kurta and dhoti with shaved head and sikha, and they all had tilak on and tulsi beads around their neck. And he said, you want to follow the West? Follow these Westerners. And so he wanted to impress upon them what is the real value in life. That the real value in life is not just being wealthy. You know, coming from the West, you have a higher standard of living, particularly in the 1960s, when Srila Prabhupada had gone to the West. You know, the conditions, the standards of living in the West were much higher than what they ever were in India at that time. And so people naturally wanted a higher standard of living. But that is not the goal of life. A higher standard of living is simply temporary. How long can you enjoy these temporary benefits? We have to understand the temporary nature of the material world. That we are living in a material body, in the material world. And the fact that it is material means it is temporary. The body which we have today is going to be finished in course of time. We're going to give up this body and we're going to take another body. Unfortunately, because we're so blinded by materialism, we don't think about the future. We only think about now, that I want to enjoy, I want to satisfy my desires, to be comfortable. But we have to understand your comfort is temporary. How long are you going to be comfortable in the body? One day that body is going to dwindle and it's going to drop. We're going to give up the body, and then we have to take another body. Where do you want to go? So we want to understand this very basic, very important principle, that we're not the body, that we're all spiritual beings, we're eternal souls, and we have had many bodies in the past. And we will continue taking bodies again and again, unless we come to consciousness of our actual spiritual nature. So Srila Prabhupada was very convinced about this knowledge, so much so that at the age, in the 60s, that he went to the USA. And he went to the USA without any money, practically. You know, could you imagine going to America with no money? And you don't know anyone? How will you survive? I just came through the Middle East. In Dubai now they have a rule, nobody should come with less than $1,000. And that's not much money these days, $1,000. But that's, you know, a policy they've instituted there. So Srila Prabhupada in 1960s, he went to the USA, he had like 40 rupees. Oh, but then when the boat came into harbor, the captain of the ship which he was on, remember he went by ship to the USA, he didn't fly, he went by boat, and he was given the passage by a pious Indian lady. It was an Indian steamship, cargo ship, and the captain was a person called Captain Pandya, and he was a pious man, and Srila Prabhupada was bringing some of his books with him. He brought some of his Bhagavatams with him. So before he got off the ship, he asked the captain, "Would you like to have a set of my books?" And he showed him the Bhagavatam, and he sold him a set of Bhagavatam. The captain paid him $20. So that was the only money he had when he arrived in America. And $20, of course, is not much money, even in the 1960s. He said, Prabhupada described it as a few hours spending money. But anyway, this is how he arrived in the USA, but he was confident of the mercy of Krishna, depending on Krishna. Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Yoga Kshema Vahamyaham, that I carry what you lack and I preserve what you have. So he was confident that Lord Krishna would take care of him. That is the sign of a genuine Mahatma, that he's simply depending on the Supreme Lord. And he's not requesting the Lord. He's not praying to the Lord, oh give me, oh good. You know, he was simply doing his duty to present the message of Lord Krishna and to distribute spiritual knowledge to people. You know, when we're in difficulty, we'll probably come to the temple and go to the deities and pray to the deity. Oh, Krishna, please help me. But Srila Prabhupada was not doing like that. He was simply teaching and distributing the knowledge of Krishna consciousness to whoever would listen to him. So in this way, he established the Krishna consciousness movement in the Western world, first of all in the USA, then later on he sent people to different countries to also begin Krishna consciousness. He sent someone to Australia, someone else went to the UK, someone else went to France. Different devotees were sent to different countries to begin Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada told them, you go there, I will come there. And he did. Once they went there, then later on Srila Prabhupada also would come and visit them. So it happened that Srila Prabhupada very much wanted to go to Russia. And this was in the 1960s, early 1970s. Srila Prabhupada wanted to visit Russia. Now at that time, of course, Russia was very much closed country. It was communist, and it was not easy to go there. But somehow Srila Prabhupada was able to get there. They arranged a meeting with a professor at the Moscow University, a professor of Asian Studies, and they met him, and Srila Prabhupada had conversation with him. It's a recorded meeting. The Russian professor, Professor Kotovsky was his name. And so he met with Srila Prabhupada and they talked, and of course nothing very positive came of it. But what happened while they were there, one of Srila Prabhupada's servants, or his secretary actually, was out trying to buy some rice. You know, difficult to get rice in Russia, especially at that time. Everything was rationed. So he was trying to buy some rice, and while he was out trying to find the rice, some young Russian men came up to him and said, "Have you got any Beatles records?" It was 1960s, you know, and the Beatles were very big name. Everyone wanted the music. And so in Russia, they didn't allow that kind of stuff in Russia, you see. There was no Beatles music. But somehow these young people had heard about it, and they were asking, do you have any Beatles music? So the secretary very cleverly said to them, well, I haven't got any Beatles music, but the guru of the Beatles is here, And they said, wow, great, can we meet him? And they brought him to meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada talked to them, and he was very impressed how the Russian young men, how they were so inquisitive and how they were so receptive to the message of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada, although he was only there for a few days, he spent those few days talking to these young Russian men, and he really impressed upon them Krishna consciousness. And they became so convinced about it, they took up Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada actually arranged for the one Russian man who was very, very interested, he arranged for him, he said, I will send you a wife. And he said, French girls are very beautiful. He said, I will send you a nice French girl, you can get married to her. And so Srila Prabhupada arranged, there was one French devotee, she was serving in London at the time actually. I was there in London at the time, and I remember very well how all this happened. Prabhupada wrote to her and told her, I want you to go to Russia, there's a young man there, you should marry him. And so young girl, Prabhupada's telling me to do this, I have to do it, And she did it, and she went there and she married the man, and she also trained them in Krishna consciousness, and they traveled a lot all over Russia, and they distributed Krishna consciousness. Even though Prabhupada never went back again, the young man was initiated, he got initiation from Srila Prabhupada, and they made many devotees. And you can see how there's so many devotees from Russia today. Russia and of course Ukraine, so many devotees are there, and many temples, many centers. So this was Srila Prabhupada's expertise. He traveled everywhere, he went everywhere. He went to Russia in 1971 when it was still closed up. And he went to Africa also. He had sent a devotee to Kenya to preach there in Africa. And Prabhupada went there himself. But when Srila Prabhupada went there, he told the devotee, he said, where are the African devotees? He said, you're only bringing Indian people to me. He said, I sent you to Africa to preach to the Africans. Where are the African people? And the devotee said, well, Prabhupada, it's very difficult to preach to African people, The Indian people, they're very good devotees also, they're very interested. He said, yes. He said, I know, we're not against preaching to them, but we're here, our real mission is to preach to the local people, and you have to preach to the Africans also. And so with Prabhupada's insistence, they arranged programs in different parts of the city where African people live, and Prabhupada showed them how to preach and introduce Krishna consciousness to the African people. And Prabhupada also went to Hong Kong. He wanted us to preach in China. And there was a young Chinese man who was becoming a devotee there in Hong Kong. And Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was in Hong Kong, he saw that Chinese people are also receptive to Krishna consciousness. So later on, that Chinese man went to Mayapur and the Gaur Purnima festival. Prabhupada initiated him, the first Chinese devotee. And Prabhupada then told all of his god brothers, he said, you see, even the Chinese are coming. Because his god brothers, they were only preaching mainly in India. None of them ever went out of India. It was Srila Prabhupada who had the courage to go out of India and to go to other countries and to distribute the message of Krishna to everyone. And so he was encouraging his godbrothers also, that you should also go. There's a big field there, you know, the whole world is waiting to become Krishna conscious. So I always remember Srila Prabhupada telling us things like, do something useful with your life, don't waste your life in materialistic enjoyment, do something useful. And if you can go somewhere and introduce Krishna consciousness, then you will get the credit. And if you don't go, somebody else will go in the future. They will get the credit. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada was encouraging all of us that we should preach, you know. I was a young person, I was like 21. I just finished my university studies. I graduated from college. And I was, you know, when you're in college, you think, oh, I'm going to get a job and, you know, I'll control the world, I'll enjoy and everything. But a little while later, after you're working in the business world, you realize it's not very pleasant, you know, it's not very satisfying. And I met the devotees, and then I started to hear Srila Prabhupada, and I became convinced that this is something more important, that I should really dedicate my life to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada said, just give this one life to Krishna. You've already had so many lives. You've wasted so many lives. Why not give this one life for Krishna? So Prabhupada, like that, he was preaching to us. He was teaching, encouraging us that we should make this sacrifice, that we should become convinced about Krishna consciousness. And we're seeing Krishna consciousness that actually it's developed, it's certainly developed. Since Srila Prabhupada's time, there's been a lot of development, particularly in India, a lot of development. But then not only India, in Russia also, so many devotees. In China also, we have devotees. We don't have temples there, we're not legal. But we do have people who are Krishna conscious. And there's a lot of kirtan going on all over the world. The Sankirtan movement is being spread. Lord Chaitanya had predicted, Priti Viti Achiyat Nagaradigram Sarvatra Prachar Haibe Moranam, that the holy name would be chanted in every town and village all over the world. So Lord Chaitanya had predicted this, and people used to think, oh, this is just some eulogy, this is just some saying, it won't really happen, it can't really happen. But Srila Prabhupada was convinced it could happen, and he showed it could, and it did happen, that the holy name was spread all over, so all parts of the world. And so we have to have faith that whatever is said in the scriptures, in the Shastra, it's not just poetry, it's not just philosophy, it's actual facts which are being stated to us. And if we follow this process of Krishna consciousness, then certainly we can get the greatest benefit. The benefit is that we won't waste this human life, right? We have the valuable human life. It's a great fortune. There are so many, 84 lakh species of life, and only 400,000 are human species. So we're fortunate to have the human body. And we're even more fortunate if we know about Krishna consciousness. We can understand about our eternal spiritual nature. It's it's very rare to get this opportunity. And if we take advantage, we can cross over the ocean of birth and death. We're here in the material world, and the fact is we're taking birth and dying, and it's going on again and again. We've had many births and will continue to take birth again and again. And it's not very pleasant. The world is not getting better. That is an illusion, to think the world situation is getting better, we're living more comfortably. No, it's not fact. The world is simply becoming more hellish. There's more and more hell in the world than ever before. Even if we take birth, there's no guarantee that you'll ever come out of the womb. You may be conceived in the womb, but so many children are killed in the womb, they don't even take birth today. This is Kali Yuga. So many evils are there. So we are fortunate to have the human body. We want to use it very carefully. We want to understand, first of all, our identity as a spiritual being, that we're all spirit souls. Sometimes people would ask Srila Prabhupada, they would ask him, "How old are you, Swamiji?" And he would say to them, "I am the same age as you." He would point out to them, "I'm a soul, I'm not the body. We are all souls, we're all eternal souls." We have to understand our eternal spiritual nature. And then we have to make proper use of that spiritual nature. And the proper use of that spiritual nature is to connect ourselves to the service of the Supreme Transcendental Being. So, with the help of scripture, like the Bhagavad Gita and other books, we can learn all of this philosophy. We can become convinced about the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the teachings of Lord Sri Krishna, how they have given us this message which is so vital, it's so important for us today to understand these things. And like I say, it's not just something which we read, but it's something which we can apply in our life. And we saw from Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, we saw how he applied it. Everything he did was according to the scriptures. He did not waste a moment of his time. He conquered over eating and sleeping. He told us, he said, "When I was a young man, I conquered eating, I conquered mating and defending when I was still young. Now in my old age, I have also conquered over eating and sleeping." Generally, this is the business of the animals, eating and sleeping and mating and defending. But human life is meant for something more than just these four things. And it's meant for investigation, inquiry, to understand the absolute truth. And you can get this knowledge when you start to read scriptures like Bhagavad Gita. The absolute truth. We all know about relative truths. We enjoy the relative truths. But we should, relative means it's very temporary. It's not lasting for long. We want to understand the absolute, the eternal truth. And you can understand it very easily once you begin to chant the Mahamantra. So Srila Prabhupada introduced the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. He went himself, he chanted, and he got other people to chant. And the chanting is now being spread everywhere. And people are continuing to chant. And they're taking great pleasure in this activity of chanting. It's not a mundane entertainment business. Rather, it's the highest transcendental experience. For a neophyte, it's pleasurable. And for one who is on the highest level of transcendence, it gives also spiritual pleasure. So even one who has come to the highest level of realization, they will continue to chant the Maha Mantra, and they'll take more and more pleasure in that chanting. So in the beginning there's pleasure, and on the topmost platform also there is pleasure. Pleasure is there. It comes through the holy name, through the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. So it's very nice to see all of you here today, and I could hear you all chanting earlier. So maybe there's some questions. Anybody has any questions they wanted to ask? Yes, Prabhu?
On one side we hear that it should spread all over the world, and it's predicted. On the other side, in the Bhagavad Gita, is this verse, Manusyam Nam Sahasrisham Kashchit Oh, that very rare that somebody knows me too. How do you reconcile this?
Yes, Prabhu is saying, he's referring to the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, which says, out of thousands among men, hardly one has achieved perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So he is saying, how can we balance the fact that we want to distribute the message of Krishna to everyone? We want everyone to chant the holy name. Yes, the Lord Krishna is saying to Arjuna that people are interested in becoming perfect. They want to come, they want to get maybe yoga siddhis, to have mystic powers. They're thinking that is perfection. Or come to the level of transcendence, to merge into the oneness and to feel a oneness with the world. And they think that is perfection. But there's something higher than that, and that is to know the absolute truth as a person. So, although in the Bhagavad Gita Krishna says that it's rare, very rare for one to know me in truth, the devotees are more merciful than Krishna. Lord Krishna readily reveals himself to others. Why? Because he becomes controlled by his devotees. Like Lord Krishna became the chariot driver for Arjuna, and he became a messenger on behalf of Maharaj Yudhisthira. So Lord Krishna is very reluctant to give pure devotion to others. But the devotees, like Prabhupada and other devotees, they're more merciful than Krishna. They give Krishna to everyone. They want to tell everyone about Krishna. They're giving that message to everyone. So they have greater mercy than Krishna. And Lord Krishna likes that, because he likes to see his devotees get the credit. Just like Battle of Kurukshetra, Lord Krishna could have fought the Kurukshetra war himself and defeated everyone, but he wanted Arjuna to do it. He wanted Arjuna to get the credit. In Bhagavad Gita it said, Nimitta matra bhava savyasachin, become an instrument in my service. So a devotee of Krishna is like that. He's an instrument in the service of Lord Krishna. He will distribute the message of Krishna to everyone. And that is pleasing to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna said, Nachatasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritama. That there's no one more dear to me than that person who is distributing this knowledge to others. So Lord Krishna likes very much that his devotees will distribute Krishna consciousness, give his holy name to others. let others hear the holy name. And Lord Krishna himself came 500 years ago as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, daily there would be Sankirtan, there would be chanting of the holy name. He would be distributing the holy name. Let everyone hear the chanting. They may not chant, but if they just hear the chanting, they benefit. They get benefit just by hearing. If you chant and take part in the chanting, you get more benefit. But if you just simply hear, you don't chant, still you get some benefit. So this is the mystery of Krishna consciousness. That Lord Krishna himself doesn't distribute, but he sends his devotees to come and do it. All right. Any other question? Yes, Maharaji?
Maharaj, could you tell us some lovely story how was preaching Srila Prabhupada?
Some stories, what?
About Srila Prabhupada, how he was preaching.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to do that. Yes, Srila Prabhupada was preaching. Well, Srila Prabhupada was always preaching. He never stopped preaching, you know. He would go for a morning walk and Prabhupada would be preaching. Every morning he liked to go for a walk. Doctor actually told him it would be good for him. Every day you go for a walk. And so he would go for a walk and we would sometimes get the opportunity to go with him. And he would be preaching to us, he'd be talking to us. Sometimes he would chant and other times he would be preaching. And he would talk. I remember one time we were in the park in London. So one of the devotees, he saw there was a eucalyptus tree. And Srila Prabhupada said, oh, it said these twigs on this tree, they make very good toothbrushes. And they use a twig, a eucalyptus twig, to clean the teeth. Did you ever try? No? Better than Colgate, you know. You get a eucalyptus twig and you can chew the twig, and so it's quite common. And we even offer to Lord Jagannath, we have that custom in the Jagannath Puri temple, we offer twigs to the deity as a toothbrush. So Prabhupada wanted a twig from the tree. So a devotee broke a twig off the tree, and what happened was some policeman came, you know, London policeman, you know, said, this is government property. You can't take the twig off the tree like that, you know. And you know, the policeman chastised, and afterwards Srila Prabhupada said, he said, this country, England, they have taken all the jewels from England for the Queen of England. He said, we have taken one twig. And they're complaining. They took so many jewels, so much wealth from our country. We simply take one twig and they're complaining. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go back to Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for sharing your realization.